Check one, check two, since you know what to do. What's going on, family? Day eight, day eight of my YouTube live series. I don't even know what the series is called, but nonetheless, we've been rocking pretty tough. You've been rocking with me, and I'm just grateful that we've been here. I can't believe this is day eight already. Right? These days have just been fun, and I wake up every morning by the grace of God, looking forward to coming on and teaching. You know what I'm saying? Like this is getting me back in my teaching bag. It's getting me back in my just kind of in the flow, in the way that I love to show up. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to thank you for your response. I want to thank you for your love. I gotta actually highlight a comment that I got the other day from someone random. I don't even know who. I've never seen them before. I don't subscribe to their YouTube channel, but he has like 20 22 and some change, 22,000, 22K and some change subscribers. And he just came by one of my videos randomly and was like, "Hey, just came here to support. I'm seeing what you're doing. Keep going." With a fire emoji. So maybe if I'll find it, I'll screenshot it and I'll show it to you. What I'm saying is the reason why that is so important is because, like I said, when I'm doing your lives, I don't know. I'm not even looking at the numbers when I do these lives, right? I don't know if people are hopping on and hopping off. I have no idea because my focus is not necessarily the the numbers right now, right? My focus is primarily seeing if I can show up consistently for you and teach you something every single day that I'm live, right? Or every weekday that I'm live. And so that's what I'm focused on. So if people come while I'm doing that, great. If people don't, great. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, my father told me a long time ago, I remember when I first started kind of getting into speaking publicly, he said that you never shortchange the one, right? Never shortchange the one, meaning if you only have one person in the audience, you overperform. You pour into that person 1,001%, right? You pour into that one person as if it was 1,000, as if it was 100,000, as if it were a million. And so that's what I do, right? So whether there's one viewer or no viewers, I'm going to pour into this camera, in this microphone, in this software, everything that I got for the every single time that I get the privilege and honor to be able to show up. And I think that if we all kind of adapt or adopt is the word, that type of mentality, then I believe that the way that we begin to view our content and the way that we approach it is going to drastically change. So I encourage you, I encourage you, right, to create that content. I encourage you to put that content out there, whether it's one view or a million views, right? Make that content, post it up on that social media platform, and hit that publish button, okay? So we're going to get you closer to that. If you're hesitant, if you have been and you haven't been getting the results that you want, or you're just getting started, whatever walk of life you happen to be in right now, when it as relates to your content, right? Don't worry about it. I'm glad you're here, and we gonna work through it together. Okay. Pardon me if you were on yesterday, over the weekend, caught a little something, felt a little something brewing, and it caught up with me. Thank God I was able to kind of fight it a little bit, so it didn't hit me as hard as I think it could have if I didn't kind of, what I mean, put some some defense mechanisms up, making sure I'm drinking my tea, making sure that I'm, drinking my vitamin C and all of that to try to boost up the immune system, drinking my water and all of that to try to make sure that I'm in defense mode when it comes, so I can knock it out as quickly as possible. So I don't think it's as bad as it maybe could have been, but nonetheless, I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather. But nonetheless, I said I'm gonna be with you every weekday, right? And so by the grace of God, I was able to get up out the bed. By the grace of God, I still have a voice. By the grace of God, I still have wherewithal to be able to um, talk, communicate. So if I'm a little slower, if I get a little brain fog a little bit, then you just gotta forgive me, give me grace. But my intention is to still go ahead and give you this value. So I'm not going to keep you long. I've been saying that, but I mean we be getting so good, the conversation be getting so good, the information be getting so good, and I'm be getting so excited. But I'm really not gonna keep you long because I need to get back in the bed. I need to get back in the bed. I'm just gonna be honest with you. All right. So yesterday, this week, we are talking about how to, or let me back up. Last week, so if you're just meeting me on today, what's going on? My name is Pop. Stephen Lewis is my government name. Pop is my nickname. Okay, but everybody calls me Pop. Family calls me Pop. You family, so you can call me Pop. Right? Pop at Pop the Creative on all social media platforms. That's Facebook. That's Instagram. That's TikTok. And even right here on YouTube, I'm at Pop the Creative. So if you tap it in for the first time, feel free to go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I've gotten 3 new subscribers. So those my 3 new subscribers. Shout out to y'all and everybody who has been a subscriber. I started with 75 subscribers. I think I'm at like 78 or 79 now. So I got like 3 or 4 new subscribers. That's a big deal for me, and that's in a week, right? That was over last week. I got those 4 new subscribers, so that's a huge deal for me. Okay, huge deal. Never thought I never I'm inching towards 100 subscribers. Never ever in my life thought that I would get 100 subscribers on YouTube. So that's a big deal for me. Okay. Um, but it speaks to consistency. So I'm super happy and excited about that. So I want to salute everybody who is new here. But I also want to thank the other 75 subscribers that I started with that I wasn't posting anything. Like last video that I posted before I started this live was, I think, 2 years ago or maybe 3 years ago. I think but it's been a minute. I'm just gonna say, and them folks stuck around. So I wanna salute y'all for sticking around and giving your boy some grace. All right. So last week we talked all about clarity. Okay, we spent an entire week on getting you clear, getting you out of your head, um, smashing any blockers, any mental blockers that you may have that may be standing in your way of believing in you, believing in your talent, your skill, your expertise, your knowledge, right? And letting you and helping you to actually identify your ideal audience, to help you lock down your niche, to we talked about clear messaging, right? I gave you some formulas, I gave you some slides, I gave you a whole bunch of tools that you can go ahead and use in order to get clear, because I believe you can't do anything in business, you can't do any, particularly as far as in these social media streets, if you are not clear and concise, then you cannot go to the next level. People are going to pass you by 150 times out of 100. Okay, and so that's why we laid a foundation of clarity, just to get all of that stuff out of the way, so then so that this way we can flow into this week. This week, we're talking about how to create and plan and strategize around your content. So, yesterday, we talked about developing your content pillars. And so, I'm not going to go through an exhaustive overview. You can go to yesterday, you can actually go and binge watch from day one. Well, day 2, because day 1, I just really pretty much introduced myself. I didn't do any teaching on day 1. So, you can go from day 2 all the way up to yesterday, or and if you're going to stick around for today, but you can go and binge watch that, and you can get all the information that you need. Now, what I also mentioned yesterday is I do slides every single morning every single morning when I'm teaching you guys. So if you want the slides, then I can make the slides available for you. Okay, so I just need you to comment below and let me know if you want the slides, okay? And I will have I'll create a I'll create something that's gonna allow you to easily access them, okay? So let me know if you want the slides. We'll create that access point for you, and make sure that you get what you need. All right. So today, 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 we will be talking about how to plan your content. How to plan your content without, come on, somebody, without overwhelm. Okay? Let me just ask a question. Let me everybody to the front of the class. All right? Raise your hand if you feel overwhelmed. If the very thought of you having to sit down and plan out content, if that very thought makes you nauseous, if that very thought makes you makes you sick, it just a weight. It feels like somebody, like, you remember, listen, I'm an 80s baby. I'm proud of it, right? When I came up, the cartoon was the Roadrunner, right? And the Roadrunner and the Coyote. You feel me? And the Coyote was always trying to get the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner was always outsmarting the Coyote. And so when the Coyote used to try to, or the Roadrunner would like drop that big old anvil, that big old metal, I don't even know what to call it, but it was just a big piece of metal. You know what I'm saying? And he used to drop that joint from like a high mountain on the daggone Coyote and crush the Coyote. If that's how you feel, if you feel like the Coyote, right, getting crushed by that anvil, every single time you think about sitting down to create content, raise your hand. Or sitting down to plan content, raise your hand. Okay? And it's all right. This is what we're here for. Okay? Been there, done that, and we're going to get through it. All right? We're going to get through it. Okay, so here we go. So how to plan your content without overwhelm. All right? Overwhelm, we got to get rid of that. So can you relate to this? You know you need to plan your content. But every time you try, you freeze. Okay? How far ahead should I plan? What if I plan and then don't feel like posting it? Right? Have you ever done that? It's cool, right? This is what we're here for. Sometimes, here's what I've learned. And I learned this actually from Inky Johnson. He's one of my favorite motivational speakers of all time. Shout out to Inky. He said, how you see a thing is how you perform in that thing 7 days a week. Okay? How you see a thing is how you excuse me, I'm saying it wrong. I'm sorry, Inky. How you see a thing will influence the way that you do that thing. Excuse me. 7 days a week. In other words, your perspective in regards to the thing that you're doing is going to affect the way that you actually perform in doing that thing. Right? For instance, if you feel, or if you look at content creation as something that's difficult, if you look at content creation as something that is a burden, if you look at content creation as something that requires more of you than you have to give, right? Then that perspective is going to reflect in the way that you show up to create content. And it's going to influence whether or not you create it or not. You get me? So the way you see it, or the way that you consider it, or the way that you look at it, or your perspective, is ultimately going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I feel as if I'm not good at creating content, if I feel as if content is a burden, then guess what? I'm not gonna create it, because here's what I'm gonna say to myself. Or it doesn't matter if I create the content anyway, because nobody's gonna look at it. Right? Content, I've spent all this time creating content, and I get 2 views, or I get 1 comment. Right? Why am I got 1,000 other things that I need to do. Why am I creating content? If that's your attitude towards it, then what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that you're going to sit down for an hour or an hour and a half to plan out content? No, you're not. And then you're going to create content inconsistently. You're gonna create content that's less than the caliber of that you're capable of. And then when you don't get the views and you don't get the visibility, then that is going to fuel the perspective that you had anyway. So now you have a ever evolving vicious cycle of, well, I don't know why I'm wasting my time doing this. I create content that's subpar. Nobody's listening. Nobody is tapped in or paying attention because it's not good, or it's subpar because of the way that your perspective on it, right? And then when you don't get the views, when you don't get the visibility, then you're like, see, told you so, right? And then that becomes a vicious self-fulfilling prophecy, or a vicious cycle of unbelief, of discouragement, right? And that affects that affects every other thing, right? So in essence, we have to, and this is why we dealt with clarity last week, we have to change our perspective. Here's what I said last week. Content, okay? Content creation is not, we have to get to a place where content creation is not a burden, but an opportunity. And the only way that we're going to make that shift in our perspective and in our mindset towards content creation is when we get clarity, right? So y'all got to go back next week. Y'all got to go back to last week, and y'all got to binge watch that. So moving forward, planning your content. Here's why we've shifted this week into structuring, strategizing, planning content, because you can have once you have your clarity, that's great. But if you do not capitalize on it, then you're gonna be missing out on a gold mine. So it's important that we, now that we're clear, that we shift from being reactive with our content to being proactive and prepared, right? A lot of our burnout, a lot of our overwhelm comes from us being reactive. Oh, I have to create something today. And then you go into scrolling on whatever social media platform that you're on for hours, right? Trying to find inspiration only for you to not get inspired and you to have gone through a thousand shorts, right? And just basically wasted 2 hours of your time, 2 hours or 3 hours of your day, only to close the app no more inspired, nor motivated to go and create anything. You know what I'm saying? But actually kicking yourself because you wasted 2 hours or 3 hours of your day just doom scrolling, in essence, right? That is reactionary, as opposed to being proactive and being prepared. Okay, I have to, in order to make sure that I'm ahead of the curve and I'm ahead of the game, right? I need to be planning and thinking about what my content is going to be for the next 2 days, for the next 3 days, for the next week, for the next 2 weeks. I always, me personally, and you'll see in my slides in a minute, I recommend week to week, because that will keep you, pardon me, that will keep you from overthinking. All right, because that could be overwhelming as well. Over planning, because that could be overwhelming as well. Okay, so for me personally, you can do whatever you want, but me personally, I do it from week to week. Okay, and I'll get into my own workflow in just a minute. So this is why we're tapped in here, because we want to make the shift from being reactive with our content to being proactive and being prepared. Okay, because that is going to be the way that we alleviate overwhelm, because this is another reason why I'm doing this, because I want to prevent you from getting burnt out, and I want to prevent you from being overwhelmed. I want content creation to be something that becomes such a what's the word? It becomes it's almost second nature to you, right? It almost becomes second nature to you, and it's not something that, again, you dread, but it's something that you look forward to. Okay, and even if it's not necessarily something that you ever look forward to, I'm cool with that. But at least it's not something that makes you feel that makes you feel as if, again, like that anvil has been dropped on you, and that weight, it is not a weight anymore. It's not a burden anymore. It's not something that you have convinced yourself that you can't do, right? Whether you like it or not, that's fine. If I can convince you that you can do it, And when you do it right, then it's a win-win for me. All right, so let's get into it. I'm gonna try to cut back on my yapping. All right, so um, all right, so so we're getting out of being reactive with our content, and we're gonna start being proactive. Okay, so here's the problem. You know, you don't plan. Okay, and a lot of us don't, right? Because again, content is something that we look at as being, unfortunately, a burden, right? So who's gonna plan for a burden? You know what I'm saying? Like, if something is a burden, if you don't want to do something, why are you going to plan for it? Why are you going to set out time to plan for something that you don't want to do? Right? Of course, you're going to find every other thing in the world to do besides sitting down and planning your content. All right? But I can't stress to you how important it is to plan. Okay? That is, again, how we prevent burnout and how we prevent or put safeguards around ourselves to prevent burnout and prevent overwhelm. Okay, so you just posted a moment. Again, we're being reactive. You scramble for ideas last minute. Does that sound familiar? Okay, you're exhausted, inconsistent, and your effort suffers, and your content suffers because of that. You're exhausted. You are inconsistent, and your effort, excuse me, and your content suffers because of that. When we are reactive, we cannot show up the way that we could. Okay, pardon me. We cannot show up and perform at optimal capacity when we are reactive and not proactive. Right? It's almost like, have you ever heard the term surviving versus thriving? Right? Surviving, this idea of surviving as opposed to thriving. When you are surviving, it's very difficult for you to, as they say, see the light when you're facing the glare. That's when you're surviving. When you're surviving, the only thing that you can focus on is what's in front of you. So you're not necessarily doing things from a position of leverage or options. You're doing things out of necessity. And when you're doing things out of necessity, that that becomes exhausting. Because you're doing it out of routine, you're doing it out of necessity. You're not doing it necessarily out of love, you're not necessarily doing it out of anything else other than the need to survive. And so that strips you of being able to see it from any other perspective that is hopeful, so to speak. Whereas when you're thriving, you almost have more of a bird's eye view. You're able to see things a little better. You're able to strategize a little better. Why? Because you're not just surviving. So the things that you're doing, you're in a position of leverage, and you're doing things from a position of choices, of options, right? And when you have options, that gives you a little bit more what's the word? When you have options, that gives you a little bit more confidence. That gives you a little bit more ease and comfort because you have options. Okay, and so that is and that relates to your content. When you have a survivalist mindset when it comes to creating your content, then you're just creating it because you have to, right? And so you're not thinking about really being creative. You're not thinking about necessarily, how can I make this better, or how can I study what I've done and tweak it and make it better. You're not considering that because you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to post once a day because a guru told you need to be posting at least once a day for your business, for your brand, right? So you're just trying to meet a quota. You're not necessarily thinking about transformation. You're not necessarily even thinking about growth. You're not even thinking about anything because you're just trying to do the bare minimum to get by. That's surviving, right? You're just trying to get by. That's surviving. Whereas, and that's what happens when you're reactive, when we're reactive towards content. But when we are proactive, That is more so along the lines and in alignment with thriving. When we're proactive, because that gives us a little bit more of an elevated view of our content. So we can strategize, so we can plan, so we can we can look at things from a bit of a wider perspective, okay? And that will open up our creativity. That gives us some room, some breathing room to really come up with ideas and thresh out those ideas. It puts us in a much better place where we're a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident, and we can operate from a much healthier space. Okay, pardon me. So that's what we want to do. That's our ideal. Okay, we don't want to be scrambling for ideas last minute. We don't want to just be posting, just to be posting, just to be surviving. Okay, because we want to stay away from exhaustion and inconsistency because those are death killers. That was death killers. That wasn't good. What do you call that? What do you call that? Like it's a I forgot what you call that literarily, but I didn't. They mean the same thing. Death killers, ain't it? Kill it. Anyway, all right. So on to the next slide. So here's the truth. Planning doesn't have to be overwhelming. Okay, being proactive does not have to be overwhelming. Okay, you just need. You don't have to. See, this is a big missing step. Excuse me if I can sip a little water. You don't need to plan. Shout out to Stanley. These cups are pretty good. You don't need to plan 3 months ahead. I don't know who told you that. Who told you that? Who told you that you got to plan 3 months in advance? Now listen, if you're just starting, if you're just trying to kind of get a hang of this thing, that's why I say your week to week is a great place to start. I've been creating content for a while, and I still do it week to week. At most, I do 2 weeks out, and that's only if I'm foreseeing that I'm going to be busy that next week, and I just need to make sure that I put things in place to make sure that I'm staying consistent. But that's that's me being prepared. That's me looking forward in my schedule and say, oh, okay, you know what, this week is going to be a little challenging. So I know that I'm not going to be able to really kind of carve out time the way that I need to. So to actually sit down and plan and strategize. So let me do it this week. Let me do it today, so that this way I don't have to worry about it next week. That is, again, being proactive, and that is being prepared. But that's not what I do regularly. I'm mostly doing it from week to week. That's what I'm mostly doing, right? I don't know who told you that you got to plan for 3 months in advance, or 30 days. I mean, I see people giving the 30-day content, oh, here's your 30-day content calendar. Cool. But if you're struggling posting 3 times a week, you know what I'm saying? How you going? 30 days ain't gonna help you. Giving you a whole, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not gonna help you. Like, this, it's levels to this. There's baby steps, and this is what I'm hearing. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying that that's wrong. But I'm saying that you got to start somewhere, okay? And you don't have to start with. Come on, okay? That's all right. So hopefully, all right. I'm sorry. I digress. You don't have to plan for 3 months ahead, okay? You just need a simple system that works for you, and this is what I'm about to give you, and then I'm gonna give you the rest of your day, okay? You just need a system that works for you. You, capital Y, capital O, capital U. You. Can I get back on my soapbox for a second? We have to build systems that work for us. You have to build a system that works for you. Okay? And this is why I'm going live every single weekday. because I want to help you create a system that works for you. I work out every day, right? At least I try. Yeah, I work out every day. I do calisthenics. Really not in the gym as much as I used to, but I do calisthenics. I try to do calisthenics every day. Okay? Try to do at least 100 or more push-ups, squats every single day. Now, that gives me the results that I need, and also that gives me, I'm able to work within the time, right? I'm able to fit that into my day. Sometimes I can't really fit the gym into my day for a variety of different reasons. My goal is to get back there, but as for right now, I just want to make sure that I'm doing something physically, every day that's helping me get stronger. That's helping me keep maintain a healthy lifestyle. Okay, now that works for me. Now you look at The Rock, or you look at a professional bodybuilder. They're working out 2-3 times a day, right? And guess what? They're huge. Yep, and they got muscles everywhere. Okay? They got muscles everywhere. They're huge. They're busting out of their shirts. Right? Now, if I try to work out the way that they work out, if I try to eat, they got to eat 6 tons of food every day. If I try to do that, I would literally go broke, number one, because that's really expensive to eat the way that they eat. And number two, I would not be able to keep up with a regimen that required me to work out 2-3 times a day. I just wouldn't. They have gotten to a point where they can do that. They have a different set of goals. They have a different vision. They have a different mission. And so their mission requires them to adjust their life, or to regimen their life in such a way that allows them to work out 2 and 3 times a day, to eat 6 tons of food a day. That's not wrong, but that works for them. That doesn't work for me. So if I'm basing my progress on the person whose mission is different than mine, whose end result or goal is different than mine, whose vision is different than mine, that I am going to lose that war every single time. And a lot of us are losing not because we're not capable, we're losing because we're comparing. And we have to get out of that for this year. We can no longer compare. We have to create systems. We have to create a workflow that works for us. You have to create a workflow and systems when you're building out your content and strategizing and planning your content that works for you. And this is a universal principle. This is something that we need to apply universally, not just with content, with our businesses, with our families, with our marriages. How many people, how many people have terrible relationships, not because their relationship was bad, but they go on social media and they see the highlights of somebody else's relationship and think that their relationship should be like that, and because their relationship is not like that, they have a bad relationship. Do you know how many relationships were ruined because instead of embracing what they have and working with what works for them, they're comparing and contrasting? All right. I'm off my soapbox again. Okay, let's bring this thing home. So you just need a plan that works for you. Okay. All right. So here we go. Plan 1 week at a time. All right. This is what we're gonna touch on for the next couple of minutes. You want to plan 1 week. That's what I recommend to start. If you once you get the week down, if you can get another week on top of that, cool. But baby steps. Work with what you got. Okay. Add as you go. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't get crazy with it. Use your content pillars as your guide. So you could batch plan. I plan my content out on Sundays. So my slides. So now that I'm doing the live, on my slides, my content for the week, I plan out my content for the week, and then I create my slides based on what my focus is going to be for the week. Create lock that down, and then what I do is I go ahead and I create all my slides. Okay, all my slides for I create all my slides, and then I upload all my slides into Ecamm, so they're ready. So all I got to do in the morning is get up, get myself prepared, shake the sleep off myself, and get down here and turn on these lights and hit record and go, right? So that's what I do. I plan everything on Sunday. So I mean Sunday, if Sunday works for you, great. Whatever day off that you may have, that you could take 90 minutes to 2 hours out of that day and just lock in. The beauty of, and you can go back to yesterday's live, and we talked about content pillars, and you can utilize the framework that I gave you as far as your content pillars to begin to draft out your. That's going to make it a lot easier for you to be able to come up with ideas once you have your content pillars, and once you have your ideas and you're able to create ideas based upon your pillars, then you'll be able to take that in order to begin to map out what that content is going to look like, right? You're going to be able to map out, if it's going to be talking head, is it going to be carousels, you know what I mean? Is it going to be an article, whatever, is it going to be a podcast, whatever audio, whatever that happens to be, you're going to then be able to determine whatever medium you want to express that content or that idea through. But at least your content pillars are going to give you a great head start for you to be able to start to create ideas. All right. And then you can grab the best ideas and you can plan content around those ideas. Okay. So use your content pillars as your guide, batch, and you could batch plan on Sundays, or for me, or whatever day that you have off. Okay. Okay. So here's an example. So for me, we talked about my content pillars are clarity, excuse me, clarity, content strategy, right, and mindset. Those are my 3 pillars. So Monday, I can grab an idea from pillar 1, which is clarity, right? I could talk about how to find your niche. Tuesday, I can grab an idea from pillar 2, my content strategy. I can tell you how to create content pillars. Okay? Day 3 or Wednesday, I could pull from my mindset bag, and I can give you, I can let you or help you dispel some of the blockers, right, that you may be going through. I can expose the fact that, like we exposed just a few minutes ago, you are more than capable, but you're comparing, right? And more than likely, you could resonate with that because you've done that at some point in time. I've done that at some point in time, right? So I can use that time to rewire your perspective, or attempt even to give you a different perspective to help you to rewire the way that you've been approaching whatever is blocking you from becoming a more consistent and confident creator, right? And then Thursday, I can go back to my first pillar and talk about clarity again, right? And then Friday, you could just really kind of engage. You can engage with posts. You can do engagement posts. So you can do a poll. You can do a Q&A, a story, right? You could do a recap of what you kind of went over for the entire week. So there's a bunch of different things that you can actually do. But here's the thing: you're just going back to the pillars. Do you see the difference than what we were talking about earlier, where you're being proactive with your content, right? Where you are looking, where you are not knowing, you're in the dark in regards to what you're posting. You're posting in the moment. You're trying to find ideas at the last minute. You see how we, in a couple of short slides, we have totally eradicated that whole approach. Don't you like this a little bit better? Don't you like this proactive approach a little bit better? Can you already see how much more freeing this is? How much more comfortable this is? Right? Can you already feel in your mind a wusa, the peace, right? Like the scripture says, a peace that surpasses all understanding. This is the power of being proactive. This is the power of creating your content pillars. This is the power of being able to already have a system in place that you can and already have your pillars in place so you can just pull ideas from, as opposed to trying to think of things on the spot. Okay? Get rid of that anxiety, get rid of that overwhelm, get rid of that anxiousness. Okay? Anxiousness and anxiety, same thing. Okay, I did it again. But nonetheless, all right? And last but certainly not least, as you know, every single day we got to have an action step. So your weekly planner, all right? Your weekly planner. So I want you to plan your content this week. All right? Well, today is Tuesday. So, I mean, we're already into the week, but who cares? Okay? I want you to plan the rest of your week. All right? Or if you don't plan the rest of this week, I want you to plan for next week. All right? I want you to plan for next week. So I want you to assign each day to one of your content pillars and write down your topic for each day. Don't overthink, just plan. Okay? Whatever your pillar is, just write down an idea. All right, clarity was one of my pillars. All right, I'm going to talk about how we can find our niche. Content strategy is the content strategy. Okay, I'm going to teach on how to create content pillars and the importance of it. Mindset, okay. I'm going to talk about how comparison is killing our capability. Right? Boom. That's 3 days of content right there. Out of my pillars. You understand? So now I'm pulling from something that I've already determined that my target audience needs. This is the power of it. Your target audience, you've already created content pillars that are in direct alignment with the needs of your ideal audience, in direct alignment with the needs of your people. So these pillars are already, your pillars are already symbolic of the desires and the needs and the pain points and the challenges of your people. So now you're creating ideas on how to solve the problem, the challenges of your people, the pain points of your people. That's basically what you're doing. So every piece of content that you're pulling from each one of those pillars is a different ingredient to the recipe of relief for your ideal person. Oh, that's a bar. Oh boy. For real. Think about that. Taking this approach allows you to build slowly but surely that trust, that know, that like with your ideal audience, that connectivity. Because you're specifically, there goes that word again, you're specifically talking to what they care about. You're specifically talking to what they're going through. You're specifically talking to how they can get over it and how they can get through it. I'm done. So, loved one, here it is. Your weekly planner. I want you to plan out either the rest of this week or get yourself prepared for next week. Sign each day one of your content pillars, okay? Now, this is based on, I only have 3 content pillars. You can have up to 5, okay? So if you have 5 content pillars and you do an idea a day, that's 5 pieces of content. See how easy this is, right? Or how much easier that makes it. Write down your topic for each day. Don't overthink it, just plan. All right? That's it, family. That's it. So, I hope that you enjoyed this. As always, thank you for tapping in. I apologize for the nasalness. But nonetheless, I thank you for, giving, just really rocking with me, right? So day 8 is in the books. Tomorrow, we'll be touching a little bit more on this whole idea of planning and strategizing your content, utilizing your content pillars to make content way easier and without overwhelm. So you definitely want to tap in tomorrow. Do me a favor, like this video if it added value to you, subscribe, share. All right, let me know in the comments what stood out to you the most. If you want access to the slides that I create every day for the lives, then let us know. So then this way we can create a mechanism. We can create a place for you to be able to go and grab them. All right. And yeah, hit me up on IG at Pop the Creative, TikTok, whatever social media you on. More than likely, I'm there. And let me know what's up. Let me know how you're enjoying the series. Let me know, have you binge watched? Like, just connect with me. I would love to actually speak to, the folks who are actually in the room with me. So I appreciate you. And till tomorrow, let me pray over you. Father God, we thank you so very much for your loving kindness and your grace. Thank you for waking us up. Thank you for giving us a reasonable portion of health and strength. Thank you, Lord, that we are enclosed in our right minds. And Lord, as we are continuing in this journey of not just getting clear with our content, but mastering our strategy, mastering our planning, and beginning to switch our perspective and not looking at content as a obligation, but looking at it as an opportunity. I pray for my family member on the other side of this camera. Lord, I pray that you will bless them in their home, bless them in the field or in the marketplace, bless their product, bless their service, bless their minds, bless their bodies, Lord, bless their families. I pray that you will give them clarity. I pray that you will give them peace that surpasses all understanding. I pray that you will intercede for them, that you will help them to not fall into the temptation of comparing. And I pray, Lord, that they will be able to really focus in and be grateful on what they have and be willing to put in the work to get better where they stand. Help them to grow where they've been planted. I pray that you will give them rivers flowing with creativity. I pray that as they sit down to plan their content, that it's like their brain will open up, and just ideas will pour out, and that they will be able to then, as we will discuss further, put those ideas into a framework that helps them to create content consistently and convey that message clearly, so they can be the blessing that you have called them to be. So, Lord, with every piece of content, I pray that they will grow closer to the connectivity between themselves and their ideal person, so they will be identified as a solution to a problem and an answer to a prayer. I thank you and I praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, family. Love you. And I'm going to see you on tomorrow. I'm going to bed. Peace.